John,
Hello, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
All's good. I just had some lunch. So you know they say that you're best talking to someone right after they have lunch. They're in their best mood.
That's an early lunch for you, John.
No, it isn't. It's
Just had a meal, right?
mm,
But, anyways, let's not get into the time or timestamp ourselves here. Let's dive in. How about that?
yep,
Yeah. And I see you still got that Rubik's Cube behind you.
I do. It's like I said. It's a conversation piece.
Cool. All right, let's dive in. Because everyone's here presumably to speak about immigration as opposed to the Rubik's Cube. Actually, I just had the anniversary not so long ago for the Rubik's Cube. So there you go. Do you know where it was developed?
Czech Republic.
Hungary, I believe.
Mm.
Hungary. Yeah. All right. Student strategies. Student strategies. strategies. Student strategies to permanent residence. All right. So this is actually a really good topic in terms of, uh, you know, how do you actually become a permanent resident from a student? So I think this actually could be a very long discussion,
Yeah,
and I've delved into this in different ways over the time, but I'd like to keep this really focused. So let's talk about student visa. Let's see. Student visa to postgrad work permit to Canadian experience class to permanent residence to citizenship.
sure.
Um, so I think that's actually a really popular strategy. And let's talk about like a bit of the process and some things that you'd want to consider. I think let's assume that people are here or they've made it here on a student visa. Actually, no, let's not. Let's start at the student visa. Let's start with somebody who's overseas and they're thinking about studying here. How about that? Because I got a few pieces of advice we could do there. How about you? Does that sound good?
Sure.
Cool. Do you want to dive in or you want me to dive in?
No, no. I'll start off. So you decide to study in Canada. Great. You
Great.
decide to study in Canada, but also you figured not only do I want to study here, but my ultimate goal is permanent residence. Because not all students are like that. Some students just come, they want to study, and then they're going to go home or to a third country to do more. But you have our visitors, our guests here today, have decided to go to permanent residence. So what I would say is you've decided to study in Canada. First off, look at the program that you want to take and consider it against the Canadian labor market. If you're going to take a degree in art history, and I'm not knocking art history, I got my degree in the humanities. You may not have a gigantic pool of employment opportunities once you become a permanent resident in Canada, right? Or even when you get an open work permit in Canada. If you're taking something in the STEM field, more so. At least that's how it works now. So consider what you're going to study. Consider where in Canada you want to study. Are you going to go to Nova Scotia? Are you going to come out here to BC? Prefer to be in Toronto where all the action is? That's something else to consider. And also the length of your study, because as we will get on to talk about post graduation work permits, the length of your study can affect the length of your post graduation work permit that you get once you finish, and that can affect your opportunities and chances to apply for permanent residence down the road. So that's my opening bit. Brandon, what do you have to add?
Well, I'm going to pick up on that. I'm going to say a few things. So, first off, when you're choosing a program, you have to be strategic about the program that you're going to choose, similar to what John said. But you're going to look at things like, is that going to lead to a job? You might want to consider doing a postgraduate diploma, for instance, if you already have something. And you might want to look at things like, oh, there's an internship. Oh, it's a paid internship. Oh, that paid internship could lead to my first job. Okay, that's the first thing. Secondly, there are a ton of immigration, or not immigration, educational agents out there. Okay. Educational agents get paid by the school. Be aware of who you're dealing with and what they're signing you up for and how it fits into your plans and where they're going. Because, and don't get me wrong, sometimes people might put their interests ahead of your interests, and you need to be firm in what you want to do and actually do your research and understand that. Also, I do a number of consultations, and I know John does as well, with students and what after once they arrive here. the biggest thing that I want you to think about is exactly what we're talking about here is strategy. What does the strategy look like before you arrive? Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to come to Canada and we'll figure it out. No. What I want you to do is I want you to look at your understand the 4 steps that we just started with, right? It's going to be student visa to postgrad to CEC to permanent residence and subsequently citizenship. What do those steps look like? The other thing that I like to tell people with students is, at least my clients, when they come here as a student, if they want to stay or they want to set themselves up for a postgrad, you have to start working on your next step, like when you arrive. So like
Yes.
arrive, right? Enjoy your time. Go, like if you're in Toronto, go to Niagara Falls, check out the CN Tower. Yay, like it's awesome, right? Or in Vancouver, you can, what would you do in Vancouver, John?
Go to Stanley Park, head up Grouse Mountain, go to Whistler, head over to Vancouver Island, whatever. Tons to do. Yeah.
Right? So there's like if you're there and you go enjoy, right? But don't do that for like 6-8 months, right? You have to start working because you're not only competing with all the other international students, if you're on a 1-year program, for instance, but you're competing with all the domestic students who already have a network and they understand the lay of the land. They might have some experience in an employer because you're going to want to seamlessly move into the next phase, which is the postgrad work permit. And this is where one of the biggest traps that I'd like to highlight in the short time that we have in this time together, John, is that people aren't planning ahead for the next step soon enough. They actually get to the end of it and they're like a month before, they're like, oh, what am I going to do next? And you know what? Honestly, I did exactly that when I graduated my undergrad. It was like 2 months before I graduated, and then I ended up in Korea with like something that entered in my head and I was there 2 weeks later. So I didn't really have a plan, but now, yeah, that's what I'm all about. So I've done a lot of maturing since then, John. But
We hope. We hope.
that's what. Sorry.
We hope. We hope you've matured.
I think I've matured. I got matured a little bit. Listen, the other, sorry. The other thing I was going to say too is that with the educational agents, if they haven't actually been to Canada, how are they advising you on Canada?
Yeah.
Sure, they can get you into school and maybe they've done a course and they belong to an international organization, but how are they going to advise you about all the little things that you need to do?
And exactly. And not only that, all the information that an educational agent is going to have is at your fingertips too online. All the major schools, all the major colleges and technical institutes in Canada have a recruitment office. They are more than willing to share information with you. You can do your own research, find out about what programs are offered, the cost, and they'll give you information about employment opportunities. All that stuff is available online. So folks, if you can Google, you can do the work on your own, and you don't need an education agent to navigate you. And again, as Brandon says, they have their own interests and they're trying to get their biggest commission.
But we got a time out there too, John. I don't misinterpret my stuff because I've seen some really good educational agents that do a good job and they actually do advise. But I've also seen my fair share, like people. I'll tell you one person, okay, and I'll give you an example, guys. I had a woman come in here. She was studying in Canada and she'd studied for 5 years here. All right. And she literally went from program to program to program. And this agent had bounced her around to programs. She came in to do a consultation with me. And I was like, you don't qualify for permanent residence and you never did. Okay. It wouldn't have worked out. And, she was shocked and she's like, but I'm like, no, you don't. And this is the problem. So that's an extreme example. And it's also a very real example because that was something that I actually contended with or I had to contend with. But I'm telling you, just do your own research and don't get me wrong. I don't want to bash educational agents. Maybe I did a little bit of that. I'm sorry, but I don't mean that. But you just have to understand where you're getting your advice and where that's going to go. Okay.
And you really, guys, you are your own best resource, right? You're your best engine for information.
Cool. Let's move on to the postgrad work permit, John.
So, guys, when you come to Canada and let's assume that you've got your study permit and you're at the program of your choice and the location of your choice, and the qualification or degree, diploma, whatever you're getting, is post-graduation work permit eligible. something always to make sure that you want to that whatever program you enter into is post-graduation work permit eligible. That you're going to get one, and if you have a study for 2 years or more, you're going to get a 3-year post-graduation work permit. Now, my first point of advice at this is, I know financially you may have pressures. I know that maybe at the time that you graduate and you get your post-graduation work permit, that the jobs market may be a little different than it is now. But if you can, that the moment you have work authorization in Canada, that you enter into a skilled occupation. Again, I know you have to make rent, I know you have to pay groceries, but try and avoid the manual labor jobs or the service industry jobs, which are considered under Canada's NOC to be unskilled. Why am I saying this? Is because the sooner that you get onto the track of skilled employment, that's when your options to permanent residence start opening up. You have a year of skilled work experience in Canada, Canadian Experience class, probably the best, fastest program towards PR right now. Even if you don't have a year of work experience, there are programs in the province of BC under the nomination program that if you are a graduate of a Canadian college or university and you have a full-time skilled job offer, you could be nominated by the province for permanent residence. Another clear pathway to PR. Where I find with my clients in the past is they come to me and they say, you know, I've been working at Subway, I've been pumping gas, I've been a waitress, I've been a bartender, and, you know, I've done all those jobs in my younger years, and I understand why people have to do them, and they are skilled in their own right. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to immigration programs, they do not provide a clear pathway to PR, and they are to be avoided.
Cool. That's really good information. I just want to add on a few things. I'll talk a little bit more about the strategy. So sometimes people will come to me and they'll graduate and they'll be so eager to move on to the next step that they'll go out and they'll apply for their postgrad work permit right away. And I'm like, no, don't do that, because you're just burning time. And for instance, if you have a 1-year postgrad work permit, that's a one-time deal, guys. That's it.
Yeah.
You get it once. So you can actually, if you understand the rules and you're planned properly, you can get what I do with my clients is I'll prepare all their application, and I can even upload it to the system and have it sitting there waiting, ready to go. And I'll say, go get a job and go start looking for a job. And then once they find a job and they get their stuff and they're like, okay, say it's a Thursday, they're like, I'm going to hire you and you start Monday. Okay, well, guess what? Do you have a work permit? No, but under the government rules, I can get confirmation that I'm able to work. They'll call me up. I got a job. It starts Monday. I'll hit go on the application. At that point, they're able to start working. They don't need the actual thing. The other benefit to that is the old implied status, or now the maintained status, right? They can actually continue or they can start work, because under the rules, you're deemed to be able to work at the time you submit your application and you've ceased your studies for the postgrad work permit. Okay. So if you have this strategy, you could actually buy yourself a few extra months on that. Yes. And not just have the year and do all of that. In terms of the jobs, what John was talking about in terms of the skilled jobs, a lot of people are so focused on, getting a job in their career or et cetera, but they also got to keep in mind the other things too. So what is your strategy here? Do you want PR, or do you want to do this? And I remember I had a client many years back. He would have been able to get into his profession, but the time that he would have spent in his profession, his work permit to where he got to the level where he'd be able to practice in that profession, his work permit would have been expired and he would have been back in his home country with, no way back, because he didn't have Canadian Experience class, because he would have been working at something that didn't count. So, you got to look outside the box. I'll give you an example. Like, this is my favorite, and I always talk about it because I have a pizza place. Do you have Pizziolo out there, John?
No.
I'm plugging it. There's a Pizziolo across the street, and go look it up, right? It's the Pizza Maker's Pizza or something is what they do. They just changed their sign. But I look at it out the window of the office there on the street, and I use that because when people come in, or when they used to come in, I would point to it. I say, see that right there? That's a pizza place. You know, you can go in there and become a pizza maker, and that's a skilled job. That's a knock B job, right?
Yeah.
And quite frankly, we have Pizzaville. Do you have that?
No, it sounds like Ontario has got like awesome pizza choices.
We've got a lot of pizza places. There's a place called Pizzaville, and again, it sounds like I'm plugging all the pizza places. But Pizzaville has, I looked at their stuff, man, they were paying people $40K a year plus benefits for a full-time job, which is good money, and it's skilled job experience. And on top of that, the other layer to this is during the COVID times, you want to think about COVID proofing your postgrad, right? Like think about it, retail shut down. If there was ever another shutdown, the people that were working in food service or like a pizza maker, I'm telling you, I don't know what pizza stores did, but they like probably went through the roof. No. So that was another layer of what I was advising people was to, COVID proof your type of job that you were
Yeah.
looking at.
And all this goes back to what you're talking about. Your strategy is to get permanent residence. If that is your strategy, if your number one goal is to get permanent residence, a great example you said to that client, look, we understand that you're not going to be able to get to where you want in terms of professional development.
You might not.
You might not within this time frame that's existed on the work permit. We suggest you get PR and then continue on with that, because if PR is your ultimate goal, sometimes you have to take a different route.
I find the biggest mistake that people make is they're too focused. Like for instance, somebody graduates a financial program at a college or university, then they go get a job at a bank, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to start slagging the banks, but they'll get a job at the bank. But they don't understand that, like when you work for a large company, for instance, when you get to the third step, which is like, Canadian experience class, your employment letter has to be a certain way for the immigration department. And I can assure you that large accounting companies, banking companies, or large multinational companies, they have very established form templated human resource documents, and they don't fit into the mold of IRCC. So if you're going to go work in a bank, they'll give you an employment confirmation, but it might not exactly fit into that. And you're like, but I need this for immigration. Sorry, that's what we do. That's all you're getting. That's it. And then other people have other issues. So as opposed to like maybe going to work with the guy across the street, hey, I need this, I got to put it here, can you help? Like there's a little bit more flexibility and things like that. Again, I'm just talking in general terms, but these are things that, people are like, oh, I can't get a job in this. I'm like, yeah, you can. You just have to be like strategic about what you're going to do and what your actual goal is. If your goal is to build your career up and do that, and you can do that and still get PR, great. If your goal is just to get PR and whatever, then focus on that goal and then you can do whatever you want. Otherwise, you're going to be the best educated in this job, but you'll have nowhere to practice that in Canada because you'll have no way back here. All right, that's postgrad. Let's talk CEC, John.
So you guys, you've got your skilled job work experience in Canada, 1,560 hours minimum in a 12-month, not 12 years, in a 12-month
That's
period.
a pretty lazy job.
I know that now you are Canadian Experience Class eligible. Canadian Experience Class, for those of you that don't know, is open to those who have 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada. Currently,
within the last 3.
Yeah, within the last 3. Thank you for that correction. It is
It's
currently
not a correction, just an add-on.
I know. We're all here to help each other. It's currently, and Brandon, I think he may correct me on this, but I'll put it out there anyways. But it's probably the number one program from which the government is pulling permanent resident candidates out of right now.
Currently.
Yeah.
The borders have been kind of,
and I don't think this is going to change too much going forward over the next few years. I think the government of Canada is going to prefer those who have Canadian experience as PRs.
I disagree.
See, there we go. Now, why do you disagree? Or is this another conversation?
It's another conversation, but I disagree on that. It's because it's a math problem, and if they do that, then you're gonna not be able to tap into human capital that's overseas, and you're going to turn it into programs for people that I think, like, morally, I think all of the other stuff, you're actually losing skills, you're forcing people into certain ways, and all of that. I understand what they did for the pandemic,
Okay.
but I think that the federal skilled worker program, for example, for overseas, if they don't start moving stuff through that, then that's it. And also mathematically, if you start looking at it, I know we've created TR to PR programs and all these other things, but these things are not going to be the mainstay. And if you want to hit the immigration numbers that you want to hit,
Okay,
that's my thing. But anyways, whatever. What do I know?
CEC is not going to be ignored. Let me put it that way.
No, it won't be ignored.
So, anyways, you've got your CEC eligible. You apply, and you're getting PR in regular times. You're getting PR in as little as 6 months. In practice, it's normally around 8 to 9 months. COVID, it's a little bit longer. We're finding maybe 10 or 11 months. But overall, it's one of the fastest pathways to PR. Brandon?
Yeah, I would agree on that. I would agree. I don't have anything else to say on that, John. Do you have anything else you want to say just to wrap this up?
Well, Canadian Experience Class. Well, let's talk about the benefits of Canadian Experience Class. One is there's no settlement funds requirement, like under federal skilled worker and even federal skilled trades. You've got to show a minimum of I think it's 13 grand or thereabouts Canadian.
A little bit more, but yeah.
For one person, and then it goes up. So, for most of us regular folk, having 13 or 14 grand lying around in a bank account isn't always possible. So, especially if you're a new graduate. So Canadian Experience Class has none of that. Canadian Experience Class is for eligibility. It's not like federal skilled worker. There's no point system. It's a simple pass-fail for eligibility. Have you got that year of work experience? Yes. Well, then you're eligible. Of course, you have to meet certain language requirements as well, and you can't be inadmissible, but there's no points grid for Canadian Experience Class. There is for CRS scores, but that's something else. But
that's a whole different day, John.
Whole different day. But it's a good program. Taking Brandon's comments into account. I could be wrong. There could be a large reorganization, and Canadian Experience Class may not be the main pool from which candidates are drawn, but it's not going away. And it's going to be, if you can become qualified in the Canadian Experience Class, you are going to get
wrong.
What?
You got me wrong, man. I know I love the Canadian Experience Class, and I don't think that it's
okay.
I don't think it's going anywhere because the other thing I think too is if I was sitting in government and I was looking at it, you've got somebody here, they've got Canadian work experience, they're working, they've got Canadian education, possibly all of the other stuff. The government, if I was the government, I'm spending less money on integration and settlement services, and I've got that person working, integrated, and paying taxes because that's what the government wants, right? All in one fell swoop. So I just think it has to be complementary, and you have to look at a holistic picture. And I hope that we're doing that in this country, or I hope that we'll continue to do that. But no, I love the Canadian Experience Class, and I think it's a great program. Sorry. I feel like I'm like, sorry.
Yeah,
John.
I'm gonna get you for that.
Yeah, right. All the students with pitchforks, what are you talking about? Canadian Experience Class is awesome. All the angry farmers at the gates with pitchforks. I don't know if you've seen Frankenstein, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, I think we're going down a rabbit hole here, and I'm going to cut it off if that's okay.
Sure.
Talking about Frankenstein, how do you get that in an immigration video, right? Okay, I guess we're done. Unless you have some comments.
Guys, any confusion, any questions about your own file or own application, reach out, contact us, Brandon or I. We're always here to help.
Yeah. And guys, if you enjoyed what you watched today, please check out. We do put these things up online. What am I talking about? We do put ourselves out online. If you have any questions or whatever, just put them in the comments or just email us. But go check out My Second Passport. And listen, if you found the content today valuable, please share us. And if other people have questions, we'd love to hear it. I love getting questions. I know you do too, John. I'm going to let you go, mate. You take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy, everybody.
Take care, guys. Have a good day, and bye, John. See you later.